Okay, let's make this happen. Yep, it's a happening. Truly a happening. All right. Welcome, folks, to Tanya Today. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you from Chabad Zichin Kadesh in Montreal, Canada. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. We say good morning. Shalom to John in North Carolina. And to Michael, he's with us in Germany. Clem in Brisbane. He loves it. Yes, we do all. Rabbi is in Tangier, Morocco. Shalom. Good afternoon. Elise is in West Virginia. Boker Tov. Susan, Scranton, Pennsylvania. Welcome. We've got Jackie with us in Charlotte, North Carolina. Steve is all the way in. Good question. He's in the University of Hard Knocks. I don't know where that is. Let us know, Steve. Carlos rather, in Costa Rica, welcome. Celeste is in Chava in Boulder, Colorado. Shalom. Vaclav in the Czech Republic. Cindy is in Florida. Natine in Canada. Leah is also a Floridian. Diane, welcome in Arizona. Vincent is in Alberta. Oh, a Canadian. All right. Jeff is in Michigan, back in Michigan. Okay. Shalom to Alexandra in Connecticut. Daphne is with us in South Carolina. Sandy is in Michigan. Sarah in Malaysia. Pamela in Virginia. Andrea is with us in Phoenix. Karim. In Algeria. Ooh. Gary, welcome. Gary is with us in, also studied Hard Knocks. Wow. 2 of 2 today. Miriam in the UK. Rusty in Texas. Julia's in Pennsylvania. Instagrammers we have with us. Surak. I'm sure I got that wrong. Later for live, okay? We have Akoy in Peru. We have Rachel in South Carolina. We have Astro. Nancy is with us. Iron Beauty. Who else? Carlos in Chile. All right. We have Bacha with us on Clubhouse with Michael and Celeste and Liana, David, Jeremiah. Okay. So, beautiful. All, when we'll have people engage afterwards, meaning after the class discussion, that's when the engagement begins. Discussion. So, chapter 9. I never promised you a rose garden, that everyone said to somebody. God doesn't promise easy street, easy life. Now that we understand the makeup of who we are, the 2 parts, the divine part, the human/animal part that's in us, Then we now come to the verse that says about Rebecca, she was pregnant, and there was a lot of commotion, battle going on inside of her. And then she found out she's got twins. And as the prophecy was given to her, that Ulum Milum Ye'ematz, one nation shall prevail over another nation. Jacob and Esau, Yaakov and Esau, they represent nations, but also the godly soul, Yaakov, the animal soul, Esau. And there's going to be an ensuing battle, a constant battle between the two. So to take that metaphor, take it further, there are two kings that are battling over a city. And each one wants to capture the small city and to rule over the population, ultimately with their consent. That the inhabitants will obey the decrees of their new ruler. That's the metaphor. So too, we have two souls, a divine and a vitalizing animal soul that originates in Klipa, the animal soul, in the shell that covers over on the divine and the holy. And they're waging war with each other. They have a different agenda. One wants a godly, one wants just human pleasure, self-fulfillment. That's what the animal soul wants. And each one is waging over the body of the person. The body and the organs, analogous to a city, is the body, right? A complete city is the complete body, and the organs are the inhabitants of the city. And each soul wants to direct the city's inhabitants according to its will. How? As follows. We begin with the divine soul. Its desire, its will, is that she should rule alone over the entirety of the individual. All the organs of the body should be subject to her discipline. In others, following the dictates, what the divine soul wants, which we'll explain. Furthermore, that not only that it should follow the dictates of the divine soul, the body, but it should surrender completely to her. Not merely obey, but surrender, give in. And even more so, that the organs of the body should be a chariot to the divine soul, that all it wants is that which is divine. That's even a greater accomplishment, right? It's one thing to have the body just, be disciplined by the soul, right? And we'll explain in detail what that means. But it's even greater that the body surrenders, gives in. And even greater than that, not only surrenders, what the will of the soul is the will of the body. It's a chariot, completely seen as an instrument, as a chariot is an instrument to its rider. So the body perceives itself as only an instrument to fulfill the godly soul, the divine soul's wish. Now, that's in further, that the entire being of the individual should be only an instrument of the 10 faculties of and the 3 garments of the divine soul, leaving no place for any expression of the animal soul. No alien should pass through in the the being of the individual. That's what the divine soul is seeking. More specifically, is that the three parts of our brain, Chachma, Bina, V'das, wisdom, understanding, and knowledge of Chabad, should be permeated with the divine soul, meaning that our intelligence should be discerning God, understanding Him with our Chachma, with our Bina, pondering how infinite and God is, applying that meditation to Das to connect to it, immersing yourself in the awareness of God, the truth of Him in your mind, that you're so saturated with it. Again, this is what the divine soul is seeking, right? This is what it wants as a king, as a ruler over the individual. And not only that the mind should be filled with an awareness of God, but then now it should come into the heart. And the heart should be permeated with the divine soul likewise. That the heart should feel a sense of awe towards God. And love with a fiery flame of passion towards Him. A desire and a longing to cleave to the Ein Sof, to the limitlessness of God. With all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your might. Meaning with all your might, ready to sacrifice your life for God. There's nothing to die for, there's nothing to live for. And that depths of the heart, that it is feeling connected to God in the right ventricle of the heart, should now overflow that love of God into the left ventricle of the heart where the animal soul is. That the animal soul too, which is in the left ventricle full of blood, it too should have a love of God. How will that love of God express itself? That no longer it's seeking pleasure for its own sake as its own end, right? Which is coming from klipa, but it should be transformed into a pleasure in the love of God. As it says, you should love Hashem b'chol levavcha b'chol levavcha. It doesn't say libcha in the Shema with your heart, but it says b'chol levavcha. The extra base there is implying that the love of God is not just with your godly soul, but also with your vitalizing animal soul. It too should come to a love of God. In other words, it should come to a love, abundant love, surpassing even the fiery flashes of love of God, that we delight in God. That's what we delight. Like now, delighting in Tanya, right? Well, here emotionally, in other words, emotionally delighting in God, delighting in a mitzvah. That's what you are seeking, which is really ultimately something that we all will in the times of Mashiach. Now that's quite an accomplishment. The point where we're going over here is this is the desire of the divine soul. It's waging this battle inside of us. If we allow it, right? And this is where we're going with this. But it's waging this battle inside of us. This is what it wants. It wants that we should delight, we should feel in our brain right now in learning Tanya. Wow, how delightful is this experience of knowing God. Of course, each person commensurate with their capacity of intelligence. But that the element of water that feeds the animal soul to seek pleasure in material things, here the pleasure, the delight is in knowing God and feeling that in your heart. And ultimately, so that's in your mind, in your heart, or in your brain, in your heart. And then it should also be expressed. The divine soul wants that all of your expressions, which are thought, speech, and action, should be filled solely with the divine soul. So that in thought, thinking words of holiness. In speech, that your mouth never ceases from the word of God. In study, in prayer. And then in action, of course, that our hands and the rest of the organs of the body, 248 organs, which is the third garment of the divine soul, that of action. First one is thought, then is speech, action. Then it should be engaged in a mitzvah. Always being there, engaged in a mitzvah. So, in summary, the divine soul's desires that all the faculties, which are the 3 intellectual, Chabad, wisdom, understanding, knowledge, and the 7 emotional, should be pervaded entirely and exclusively with the divine soul. That's what it wants to conquer. The small city, me, my body, and vitalizing animal soul to be conquered, that it should first just follow the dictate of the divine soul. Better yet, to surrender, not just to, ball and chain, but to surrender. And even greater is to become a vehicle that the whole body and animal soul comes to recognition that all it is but a vehicle for the divine soul's will, as we've just expressed it. But then in the other corner, the Alter Rebbe says there's an animal soul that derives from Klippa, right, from a negative force, that its desire is the complete opposite. Its desire is that the body should be pervaded by the faculties of the animal soul, not the godly soul. And it should have self-expression of the animal soul in thought, speech, and action. That's what it wants, right? Be self-directed. Be seeking self-fulfillment. Not directed by the godly soul towards what God needs from me, but I want. What I want. I mean, maybe I need God in some instance, but God is there for what I want and what I'm looking for in my life. That's the animal soul. Direct opposite of the godly soul. Self-directed. Again, it doesn't have to be, as I've mentioned many times, it doesn't have to be an evil thing. Evil, tiladahan. No. Just thinking of the word self-fulfillment is, what most people, I'd say 99.99% of the population is seeking. Right? I would even suggest that most of us are online here. That's what we're seeking in our learning of Tanya. And it's important to recognize that. And at some level, I seek that because the divine soul, that it should be what we just spoke about, that level, as we will see in chapter 10. Tomorrow's class, we're going to get a glimpse of what that means. Oh, it's the righteous. It's the righteous. Right? Solely motivated by that. So yeah, we're not going to be totally motivated. We're just learning over here and understanding that this is the reality of the divine soul. The animal soul, it wants to feel good. So some of us learn Tanya to feel good. Some of us do a mitzvah to feel good. Or I say most of us do it for that reason. Is the act a good act? Of course. We'll learn more about that. But it's not an act that's an expression of the divine soul, necessarily. It could be, but not necessarily, right? They're motivated by that. The animal soul wants benefit for itself, to prevail over the individual. And here the Alter Rebbe concludes chapter 9 with, as he says, making reference to the parable, to the metaphor of a harlot. That's the Holy Zohar tells us. So what is the metaphor? The king desired to test the moral strength of his only son, the crown prince. So what did he do? He got the most charming and clever woman with her power of persuasion, charm, and guile to seduce the crown prince. And she had to do it perfectly well because the king is demanding and hiring her for that. She can't disobey the king. That would be failure to the mission. But of course, ultimately her inward desire is that the prince should not succumb to her charm and guile. So that's the metaphor. Beautiful metaphor. So too, in our case, klipa, which is this power of the animal soul, its desire is that ultimately we should overcome. We should overcome it and not permit itself to lead us astray. This is totally for our benefit. So we got who's on first and what's on second. We have, in the ring of life, of me. I am that small city, the body, the animal soul, and the godly soul, divine soul, are vying for dominance, for power. So as we began, this was the story of Rivka, Rebecca, in utero carrying Yaakov and Esau, Jacob and Esau, that represent the godly and the divine, the godly divine versus the human, vital, and animal. And there's a battle that ensues between. So we'll go back and forth, and actually the next 3 chapters will give us an indication, as we will learn about the righteous, we'll learn about the evil, and we'll learn about the Beinoni. And that's what this book is called, Sefer Shel Beinoni, the book of the intermediate. And that's who we are, BITs, Beinoni in training, as we'll learn more about in the forthcoming classes. In the meantime, wow, powerful stuff every day. The Alter Rebbe introduced this to us, beautiful thoughts and teachings. Any questions, any thoughts? Everybody's quiet. Let me see. Everybody is quiet, I guess. I hope this was well explained, so that's why you're quiet. Yeah, so we learned what the makeup of who we are, and now we understand that there's a battle that ensues. And we were never promised a rose garden. It is a battle. But now that we understand what's involved in that battle and who we can be in that battle, or who we can choose to be, deliberate choice. TRC, we talk about it. In Tanya Rabbi community, which I invite you to join. Many of you have. We have an amazing community where people can share and can grow in a way that it's difficult here. Here we don't. Here you listen and you take it with you, but it's hard. It's hard to have the growth over here. That's why we need a community that we come together. And we have a beautiful community of people who support each other, share. Some feel comfortable, some are not so comfortable, but yet, we share things that taken from these teachings and bringing it home. Jeff, so to be clear, saying that seeking to learn Tanya to improve and feel better is the work of the animal soul. Yes, absolutely. But remember, the animal soul has some good in it. It's not perfectly divine, but yes. Because that's all about me, to improve. The divine soul is we're going to learn more about. We're going to learn more about it. It's a different thing. Different thing entirely. And again, that's good. For on that level that, that we see that these teachings are really enhance my life. That's amazing. So not taking away from it, but we're putting it where it belongs. That the pursuit in that is amazing, because you're taking the good in the animal soul and directing it towards a positive change in your life and getting closer to Hashem and fulfilling what God needs of us. So that's amazing. So it's not we're not putting that down. As I said, 99.99% people, this is what they're motivated by, is an animal soul. The divine soul, it's a different, as we just described, it wants to have full dominance. That you think, speak, and act, and that your mind and heart is full with divinity, with connection to God, for God's sake. Not that I can feel fulfilled. It's not looking for fulfillment, the divine. And we're going to need more explanation on that, which is coming. Chapters 18, 19 in particular will come. So yeah, it's not, and actually, to be more precise, it may not be the animal soul, it may be the intelligent soul, which is a part of, more on that to come. But Jeff, good question. However, taking action and doing good, giving kindness and helping others, giving charity is a result of what we learned and working with godly soul, not looking for any gains, just doing good. Yeah. We're going to define it more. We're going to bring it out more, so we'll get greater clarity. But thank you, Jeff. Jeff, we're looking forward to seeing you shortly. You're missing out on some good stuff on TRC. All right. Beautiful. All right, folks. Rambam coming up right now. I'm Rabbi Ronnie Fine, coming to you for Chabad Today's Chapter. It's a privilege and a pleasure to share with you the Tanya. Have an amazing day. And today's the 10th of Tavis. The 10th of Tavis is the day that Jerusalem was surrounded by its enemies. Look at that. Wow. I'm talking about a city and being taken over. What a metaphor. I can't believe it. Everything we spoke about today is exactly the 10th of Tavis. Jerusalem, the holy city, is surrounded by its enemies to destroy it, which ultimately happened. Why? Because the Jewish people were not living with, as we're learning over here. And as a result, this was the beginning of the destruction, which is a very important lesson in life. That, just curve off a little, and that will be the beginning of the slippery slope. And that's what today is. Today is a fast day as a result for the Jewish people. For those fasting, have an amazing day, and that these days should be transformed from darkness into light with the ultimate redemption, Mashiach now. Thank you. Have a great day.